Hey everyone, welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Okay, let's just dive right into this. Today, we're taking a really fascinating deep dive into the anatomy of an achiever in this explainer. We read the stories of great personalities all the time looking for inspiration. But let's be honest, we usually only see the glossy, successful part of their journey. So today, we're going to unpack exactly what defines a truly great leader, entrepreneur, and achiever. And we'll be using the incredible, heavily documented story of Elon Musk to do it. We're going to look at his unwavering determination, his visionary mindset, and honestly, perhaps most importantly, the intense personal and public struggles he had to overcome to build his empire. So, to kick things off, I want you to think about this. What actually separates a dreamer from a true visionary? It's a pretty powerful question, right? Because, well, we all have dreams. We all have things we'd like to see happen in the world or just in our own lives. But why do some people merely dream, while others literally reshape the industries around them? Keep this question in the back of your mind as we move through today's explainer, because the answer really lies in this crazy intersection of massive ambition and a willingness to step completely into the unknown. Let's ground our discussion right away by defining our core theme. According to the glossary in our source text, a visionary is defined as a person who is given to imaginative and far-reaching ideas or schemes, a dreamer. Now, what's really interesting to me about this definition is that phrase, far-reaching schemes. It's not just about having a pleasant thought. It's about actively scheming, planning, and charting a very deliberate course toward a future that kind of defies imagination. This definition is going to be the absolute foundation for our analysis today.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the ultimate risk taker, embracing the unknown.
Because to turn a far-reaching scheme into reality, you've got to be willing to embrace massive, sometimes downright terrifying risk. You simply cannot be a true achiever without being the ultimate risk taker. Let's walk through this rapid succession of Musk's early ventures. Picture this. It's 1995, and Musk is enrolled in a physics program at Stanford University, literally one of the most prestigious academic institutions in the world. And he drops out after just 2 days to pursue his entrepreneurial dreams. Just 2 days. He goes on to co-found Zip2, and by 1999, Compaq acquires it for $307 million. He takes his share, founds what eventually becomes PayPal, and then in 2002, eBay acquires PayPal for a staggering $1.5 billion. This timeline tells us something totally vital. A true achiever doesn't just get lucky once. They continuously pivot, they leap into the unknown, and they leverage their previous successes into exponentially bigger gambles.
And that brings us to the sheer scale of what happened next, $165 million. That was Musk's personal payout from the PayPal sale. Now, for almost anyone else on Earth, $165 million is the finish line, right? It's time to retire, buy a private island, and just relax on a beach for the rest of your life. But for Musk, this was basically just seed money. He took on the sheer monumental financial risk of immediately reinvesting practically this entire fortune into completely new, notoriously difficult, and hugely capital-intensive industries: space exploration and automotive manufacturing.
Which brings us directly to the formal definition of an entrepreneur. Our source defines it as a person who starts, organizes, and manages a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. Notice that word right at the very end there, risk? By taking that $165 million and putting it all on the line to start SpaceX and become the largest shareholder in Tesla, Musk wasn't just gambling, he was fulfilling the literal textbook requirement of what it means to be an entrepreneur. Considerable risk is just the baseline price of admission.
Moving right along to section 2, a visionary mindset, focusing the risk.
So, we've clearly established the appetite for risk, but risk without direction? Well, that's just chaos. We have to explore how high-level achievers channel those massive risks into world-changing, hyper-focused goals. Let's break down his ambitious goals in practice. He founded SpaceX in 2002, and not just to build rockets for fun, but to drastically reduce space transportation costs and literally enable the colonization of Mars. Then he got heavily involved with Tesla in 2004, aiming to produce affordable electric cars to revolutionize the auto industry, expand clean energy, and basically reduce humanity's reliance on fossil fuels. And then in 2016, he founded Neuralink to develop brain-computer interfaces to completely transform neuroscience. I mean, he isn't building simple smartphone apps here. He's attempting to alter the entire trajectory of human civilization. This is exactly what a visionary mindset actually looks like when you put it into motion.
And just to show you that his imagination stretches even beyond multiplanetary space exploration and a global transition to clean energy, our source details his 2013 proposal for the Hyperloop.
Imagine high-speed transportation using vacuum-sealed tubes that allow travel at speeds up to 700 miles per hour. Just let that sink in for a second. 700 miles per hour. It's an idea that challenges the very fundamental limits of modern infrastructure and physics. It perfectly captures a mind that flat out refuses to accept the phrase, "Oh, that's impossible." Which brings us to Section 3, the crucible of struggles, the human cost. When we read these stories of great personalities, it's so incredibly easy to just see the billions of dollars and the triumphant rocket launches. We tend to just focus on the astronomical successes, Mars, clean energy, neural tech. But greatness always extracts a heavy toll, always. We have to consider the very human cost of this level of achievement, because behind the scenes of all those triumphs were severe personal, financial, and health hurdles. Leaders are absolutely not immune to hardship. In fact, their massive goals often invite massive, crushing pressures that the rest of the world rarely ever even sees.
Let's actually walk through exactly what those struggles looked like, as detailed heavily in our source text. First up, extreme financial pressure. Early on, he really struggled to secure funding, relying on his last remaining personal savings and even taking out loans from friends and family just to keep his businesses afloat while facing potential bankruptcy. Second, public and legal controversies. He has faced relentless public criticism, deep and highly publicized controversies surrounding his acquisition of Twitter, and even severe legal challenges, including a literal lawsuit from the SEC over his own tweets. He was under immense, relentless pressure from all sides, every single day, while trying to build this empire.
And third, severe health scares. To really anchor this abstract concept of struggle into something very, very real, we actually have highly specific medical details from the text. In 2018, he revealed he had been diagnosed with ADHD and was taking medication to help him focus under all this immense strain. And even more shockingly, in 2019, he had to undergo emergency brain surgery to relieve pressure on his brain after being injured in a tunnel boring machine accident. Emergency brain surgery. Just think about that for a minute. You are trying to run the most scrutinized, high-stakes companies on Earth, making decisions that affect thousands of employees and billions of dollars, all while physically recovering from an emergency operation on your brain.
All right, let's head into our final chapter, Section 4, the power of resilience, pushing through failure. So, how does a leader endure that kind of crucible? How on earth do you face financial ruin, public mockery, and severe health crises and still push forward? The answer is the absolute power of resilience. An achiever isn't defined by avoiding failure. They are defined by pushing through it. Musk survived the extreme financial pressures that would have easily bankrupted a normal person's spirit. He endured the harsh public criticism, the exhaustive legal battles, and the highly polarized Twitter controversies. And through all of that deafening noise, he remained completely, stubbornly determined to push the boundaries of what is possible. Resilience is really that fundamental engine that keeps the visionary mindset moving forward when the risk turns into harsh reality. To perfectly summarize the essence of his leadership and success, I want to read this powerful quote directly from our source material that just hits the nail on the head. He has shown a willingness to take risks and to push the boundaries of what is possible. That right there, that is the anatomy of an achiever, distilled into a single profound sentence. It requires the willingness to take the initial risk, perfectly paired with the relentless, everyday drive to push the boundary no matter what the obstacle is. And that leaves us with a final thought for you to take away today. How will you apply this resilience to your own goals? We've seen the blueprint, we've seen the undeniable requirement for risk, the need for a far-reaching vision, and the absolute necessity of resilience through intense personal struggle. You might not be trying to build a rocket to Mars, but whatever your ambitious goal is, it's going to require these exact same fundamental traits. I really hope this explainer has inspired you to think about how you can take that initiative and push your own boundaries. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible material, and whatever you do, keep pushing forward.